In the darkest corners of human history, where myths and forgotten legends blur together, there lies a story barely whispered, one about a force so powerful, so fierce that it was sealed away, locked in the shadows, buried beneath the ashes of time. They called it the Black Ship, a vessel unlike any other, carrying with it a fury humanity was never ready to face. For centuries, it slept in silence, lost to memory, dismissed as a mere tale told by old sailors and broken minds. But now, as the skies burn with the fire of alien invasion, that forgotten beast has returned. And with it, the hope of survival for all mankind. Imagine a world on the brink. Cities lie in ruins, skies once blue now darkened by the ominous shapes of extraterrestrial war machines. Humanity's weapons are failing, our defenses crumble as alien forces push deeper into the heart of what was once Earth's last stand. The air is thick with fear and desperation. Every day is a battle for survival, every night a test of endurance. In this chaos, where heroes fall and leaders falter, the whispers of an ancient legend grow louder, an ancient power, locked away because it was too dangerous, too unpredictable, too powerful to be controlled. This isn't just a story about aliens or war machines. It's about humanity's darkest secrets, the things we tried to hide from ourselves. The Black Ship is more than a weapon or a relic. It's a symbol of our fury, our resilience, and the raw, untamed spirit that refuses to be crushed. Its return isn't just a last hope. It's a reminder of what we lost when we tried to tame the wild forces within us. At the heart of this story is the struggle between fear and courage. The fear of the unknown that has pushed us to the edge, and the courage that ignites when all seems lost. The Black Ship, rising from the ashes like a beast awakened from a long, cursed slumber, embodies that courage. But it doesn't come without a cost. Those who seek to harness its power must confront the shadows within themselves. Will humanity be able to control this forgotten force, or will it consume us all? We follow a group of unlikely survivors, ordinary people caught in an extraordinary war. They don't wield lasers or command fleets. Their strength lies in their grit, their will to keep fighting when everything else has failed. As they uncover the secrets of the Black Ship, they realize this beast isn't just a tool against the alien invaders. It's a living force with a mind of its own, hungry for battle, and it demands a price for its loyalty. With every step closer to awakening the Black Ship, the stakes rise higher. Alien patrols intensify, desperation turns to panic, and the line between friend and foe blurs. The survivors must decide, trust in a forgotten monster born from humanity's own fury, or face extinction without it. The path forward is uncertain, the dangers unimaginable, and the consequences for failure catastrophic. This is more than a fight for survival. It's a fight for what it means to be human. When the Black Ship takes to the skies again, it won't just be a battle for Earth, it will be the final charge, the ultimate reckoning. And as the aliens close in, one question hangs in the air. Can humanity's forgotten beast truly lead us to victory? Or will it be the fire that consumes what's left of us? Stay with me because this story is far from over. The Black Ship fury is rising, and with it, the fate of the world is about to change forever. But beware! What comes next will challenge everything you think you know about power, sacrifice, and the true meaning of fury. Are you ready to see the beast awaken? Because the final charge is coming, and it's nothing like you've ever seen before. The world before the invasion was a different place, almost unrecognizable now. People went about their lives, caught up in their daily struggles, unaware that something ancient was stirring just beneath their feet. The Black Ship wasn't just some forgotten piece of technology or a relic of a lost era. It was a living, breathing legend, entwined with humanity's deepest fears and hidden strengths. It was said to have come from the dawn of mankind, forged in a time when the line between myth and reality was thin, a beast born from fire and shadow, meant to protect but feared for its uncontrollable power. For generations, knowledge about the Black Ship was buried in secret archives, coded messages and warnings passed down through whispers. Governments and scientists dismissed it as folklore, something too wild to be true, a tale to scare children or distract from real problems. But when the alien fleets arrived, tearing through our defenses like paper, those old stories took on new meaning. Suddenly, What was once a myth seemed like humanity's last hope, or its final curse. The survivors who now fight to awaken the Black Ship carry the weight of that history without fully understanding it. They are ordinary people, engineers, soldiers, civilians, thrust into an impossible situation. None of them wanted to be heroes. Most just want to live another day. But as they piece together fragments of the past, they realize the Black Ship is more than a weapon. It's a legacy of rage and redemption, of destruction and salvation intertwined in a way that no one can predict. Among them is the one who holds the key to awakening the beast, someone who never believed in legends, yet whose very bloodline is tied to the ship's creation. This person's journey is as much about facing their own fears as it is about fighting the invaders. Because the Black Ship responds not just to commands or technology, but to the spirit of those who dare to wield it. It demands sacrifice, strength, and an unyielding will to survive. The alien forces themselves are a mystery, an enigma wrapped in advanced weaponry and cold, calculating intelligence. They came without warning, striking swiftly and without mercy, their motives unclear. Some say they seek to claim Earth as their own. Others whisper of something more sinister, a final cleansing, an end to all life that might one day rise to challenge them. Whatever the reason, their presence has shattered humanity's sense of security, leaving behind nothing but ruins and fear. Yet, even in the darkest moments, sparks of hope flicker. The Black Ship's awakening is like a heartbeat pulsing beneath the ground, felt by those who know where to listen. Every step closer to unlocking its power draws the survivors deeper into danger. Enemy patrols grow more aggressive, rival factions within humanity vie for control, and the line between ally and adversary blurs. Trust becomes a rare commodity, and every choice could mean life or death. The survivors face impossible decisions daily. Should they risk everything to revive this beast of fury, or cling to the remnants of conventional defense? The Black Ship's past is riddled with stories of destruction that wiped out entire cities, but also of battles won against impossible odds. Its power is a double-edged sword, one that could save them all or destroy what little remains. And as the alien war machines close in, the clock ticks relentlessly. Amidst the chaos, memories surface of the last time the Black Ship appeared. Ancient records describe a devastating conflict where the ship fought alongside humanity against a previous invasion, only to vanish in a blaze of fire and shadow. Some say it was betrayed from within. Others believe it chose to disappear to protect the world from its own wrath. That mystery remains unsolved, buried under layers of history and silence. The survivors' journey to find and awaken the ship takes them through forgotten underground bunkers, abandoned research facilities, and war-torn cities where echoes of the past haunt every corner. Each discovery reveals more about what humanity once was and what it might become. They encounter relics of old technology fused with alien elements, strange symbols hinting at a connection between the Black Ship and the cosmos itself, and warnings left by those who tried and failed to control the beast before. Tension grows not only from outside threats, but from within. As the group delves deeper into the mystery, fear and doubt creep in. Can they truly trust the power they seek to unleash? What if the Black Ship's fury is too great, too wild to control? And what price will humanity pay for wielding a force born from rage and destruction? These questions weigh heavily on their minds, even as the alien threat pushes them forward. Every encounter with the invaders tests their resolve. The alien machines move with terrifying precision, adaptive and relentless, tearing through defenses and forcing the survivors into desperate retreats. The skies crackle with energy weapons, the ground trembles beneath colossal war machines, and the air fills with the cries of those caught in the crossfire. It's a war unlike any other, one fought not just with guns and strategy, but with the raw will to live and the ancient power hidden in the Black Ship. Yet hope remains. In the shadows of this apocalypse, the survivors find strength in each other. Bonds are forged through shared loss and determination, and the flicker of the Black Ship's fury becomes a beacon. They know the coming battle will demand everything they have, and more. The final charge isn't just a battle for territory or survival. It's a fight for the soul of humanity itself. And so, as the alien forces prepare to crush what remains of human resistance, the black ship stirs. Its engines hum with a dark energy, a promise of fury long held in waiting. The survivors stand on the edge of awakening a power both magnificent and terrifying, knowing that once unleashed, there will be no turning back. The war is far from over. The final charge looms, a storm on the horizon ready to break. The question isn't if the black ship will rise, but whether humanity can control the fury it brings, and if that fury will be the salvation or the doom of us all. The beast from the ashes is awake. Now, the fight truly begins. The tension in the air was almost suffocating. Each day brought new battles, new losses, and new questions that had no answers. The black ship, that legendary beast reborn from the ashes, had become the focal point of hope and fear alike. It wasn't just a machine. It was a force that could shift the balance between extinction and survival. But the path to fully awakening it was riddled with danger, both from the alien invaders and from within humanity itself. The survivors found themselves pulled in different directions. On one side were those who believed the black ship was the key to victory, a last weapon that could turn the tide. On the other were the cautious voices warning against awakening something they barely understood. What if the fury inside the ship was too great? What if unleashing it meant inviting destruction worse than the alien invasion? Among the group, a quiet but growing tension simmered. Some had lost family, others had lost faith. The scars left by constant war were deeper than anyone showed. Trust was fragile, broken by betrayal and fear. A few argued that the black ship's power might not be enough, that humanity needed a new kind of unity, something stronger than just weapons and legends. Others whispered about ancient secrets tied to the ship, suggesting it wasn't simply a tool, but a living entity with its own will, a force that might not always align with human desires. The alien presence made no secret of their strength. Their war machines moved with terrifying efficiency, adapting to every strategy, every defense. The survivors often found themselves outgunned, forced into hit-and-run attacks just to keep breathing. Reports came in of entire cities lost overnight, populations wiped out in moments. It wasn't just a battle for land or resources, it was a fight to keep the very idea of humanity alive. In the midst of this chaos, the black ship remained both a promise and a threat. Its dormant engines hummed with power, locked beneath layers of ancient technology and forgotten rituals. The survivors had uncovered old journals and maps, clues left by those who once knew the ship's secrets. But every discovery only deepened the mystery. Symbols hinted at cosmic forces. Strange energy signatures suggested the ship was connected to something far beyond Earth. Was the black ship a weapon built by humans, or something borrowed or even stolen from the stars? One of the subplots weaving through the story was the struggle to gain control over the ship's power. A faction within the survivors wanted to use every bit of science and technology they had to unlock it, using machines, codes, and brute force. Another faction believed that the ship required something more, something beyond tools and weapons, a connection of spirit and will. They spoke of sacrifice and trust, of a bond between the pilot and the ship, one built not just on commands but on understanding. This internal conflict mirrored the larger war. Just as humanity was divided between fear and hope, so too was the black ship a symbol of that division. It demanded respect and reverence, but also courage and determination. No one knew what would happen if the wrong person tried to control it. Would it obey? Or would it turn on them, bringing ruin instead of salvation? The alien invaders watched closely. Their motives remained unclear, but they seemed aware of the black ship's importance. Their attacks grew sharper, more focused, as if trying to prevent the survivors from gaining the upper hand. There were rumors among the fighters that the aliens had encountered the ship before, during conflicts long erased from human memory. If so, why had they returned now? What was the true nature of this final charge humanity was about to lead? As battles raged on the surface, another quiet struggle took place underground. The survivors worked to repair old machinery, decode cryptic texts, and navigate the labyrinth of tunnels leading to the ship's resting place. Each step closer to the Black Ship's awakening was met with resistance, booby traps, alien patrols, and the relentless pressure of time. Every moment was precious. Every decision weighed heavily. Personal stories unfolded alongside the war. A young engineer wrestled with the loss of family and the heavy responsibility of leading the effort to revive the ship. An older soldier, hardened by years of fighting, questioned whether the fury the ship promised was something humanity should embrace or fear. A small group of rebels within the survivors challenged the leadership, accusing them of risking too much on a legend they barely understood. These human struggles added layers to the conflict, reminding everyone that behind the grand battles and alien war machines were real people, each carrying their own hopes and fears. The skies above were a constant reminder of the stakes. Alien cruisers patrolled relentlessly, dropping firepower that turned once thriving cities into wastelands. The survivors' bases were moving targets, always on the run, forced to adapt or die. Despite the destruction, whispers of the Black Ship's awakening spread, sometimes as a rallying cry, other times as a warning. But as the survivors pushed forward, they uncovered disturbing truths. Some of the technology linked to the Black Ship had dangerous side effects, energy surges that threatened to consume everything around them, memories that seemed to bleed into reality, visions of battles lost and won in centuries past. The ship's fury was not just physical, it was tied to emotions, to rage, pain, and sacrifice. To wield it meant confronting the darkest parts of humanity itself. The aliens, too, were not without their mysteries. Their cold, calculated attacks masked something more complex. Occasionally, survivors captured alien drones or intercepted transmissions that hinted at fear and uncertainty on the other side. Were the invaders simply merciless conquerors, or was there a deeper fear driving them? Were they running from something? Even worse, or was Earth merely a battleground in a larger cosmic war? Every new piece of information raised more questions. The survivors began to realize this was no simple fight for survival. It was a test, a reckoning between forces far beyond human understanding. The Black Ship stood at the center of it all, a forgotten beast awakening to lead the final charge, but also a symbol of the wild, untamed fury that had shaped humanity from the start. As the final battle drew nearer, the survivors prepared themselves not just for a fight against alien invaders, but for a confrontation with their own fears and doubts. Could they trust the Black Ship? Could they trust each other? And what would become of the world once the fury was unleashed? The stage was set, the pieces in motion. The Black Ship's engines thrummed with power, waiting for the signal. The alien forces massed their fleets, ready to strike with everything they had. And the survivors stood on the edge of a new dawn, knowing that the choices they made in the coming hours could change the fate of humanity forever. But the biggest question remained unanswered. Would the fury within the Black Ship be the salvation humanity desperately needed, or the force that finally broke them? The war raged on, the tension thickening with every breath. The final charge was coming, fast and unstoppable, and no one could say what awaited on the other side. The air grew heavier with each passing hour. The survivors could feel it deep in their bones. The final battle was closing in like a storm on the horizon, unstoppable and relentless. Every sound, every shadow, every flicker of light held a meaning. The Black Ship, once a distant legend, now loomed as a living force beneath the earth, its power barely contained and waiting to be unleashed. The weight of what was to come pressed down on the group, mixing hope with dread in a way that made the nights longer and the silences louder. Outside their hidden base, the world was crumbling. Alien war machines marched like gods of destruction across the broken cities, their energy weapons cutting through steel and stone like paper. Smoke and fire painted the sky red, and distant explosions echoed like thunder. The survivors had no illusions. This war wasn't just about territory anymore. It was about survival, about the last breath humanity would take before being erased. Inside the cramped tunnels leading to the Black Ship, the team prepared for the awakening. They moved with purpose, every step a reminder of what was at stake. The ship's engines thrummed faintly, a pulse that seemed almost alive, resonating with the energy in the air. The ancient technology was unlike anything they had ever seen, half machine, half something else, something that felt like it was breathing beneath their feet. Tensions among the survivors reached a boiling point. The debates over how to control the ship had turned into sharp arguments. Some pushed for full activation immediately, believing that the Black Ship's fury was humanity's only chance. Others warned that rushing the process could unleash a power they couldn't control, dooming them all. The fear of losing control was real, but so was the fear of losing everything else. They stood at the edge of an abyss, unsure which step would save them and which would send them tumbling into darkness. The person chosen to pilot the Black Ship carried a burden heavier than anyone else. Their connection to the ship was unique, woven into their very bloodline, but that connection came with painful memories and sacrifices. Every time they closed their eyes, they saw flashes of past battles, the fury of the ship, the destruction it left behind, the faces of those who had been lost. They struggled to silence those voices, to focus on the future, on the chance to fight back against the alien invasion. Meanwhile, outside the tunnels, the alien forces intensified their assault. The invaders had discovered the survivors' hidden location and were closing in fast. Massive dropships released squads of alien soldiers, their movements swift and calculated. Drones buzzed overhead, scanning relentlessly for any sign of life. It felt as though the entire alien fleet had converged for one final, devastating blow. As alarms blared and lights flickered in the underground base, the survivors prepared their defenses. They knew this might be their last stand, their final chance to protect the Black Ship until it could awaken. Every hand was needed. Engineers ready to maintain the ship's systems, soldiers on edge ready to fight to the death, and the pilot, standing at the center of it all, trying to steady their racing heart. In the quiet moments between chaos, whispers of doubt echoed through the group. What if the Black Ship's fury wasn't the salvation they hoped for? What if it was a curse, a beast that fed on destruction and could not be tamed? Some feared the awakening would be the end of humanity, not its rebirth. Yet the alternative, giving up, surrendering to the alien invaders, was unthinkable. Hope and fear battled for dominance inside every survivor's mind. The alien commanders were no less calculated. They had studied the Black Ship's legend, understood its threat, and were determined to crush it before it could rise. Their war machines adapted quickly, shifting tactics to exploit any weakness. Battles in the ruins above were brutal and fast, with human fighters pushed to their limits. The survivors knew time was running out. Every moment brought the aliens closer to destroying the last hope buried beneath the earth. Back underground, the ship's awakening ritual began. Ancient mechanisms hummed and sparked, mysterious symbols glowing with an eerie light. The pilot stepped into the command chamber, the heart of the Black Ship, where technology and something beyond human understanding merged. As they took their place, the ship seemed to respond, its energy surging stronger, filling the chamber with a low, powerful vibration. Outside, the sound of the approaching alien fleet grew louder. Explosions shook the surface, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The survivors' final defenses were holding, but barely. Communication lines crackled with urgent warnings. Enemy forces were breaking through perimeter walls, and the pressure was mounting. The pilot's mind raced. They felt the Black Ship's fury awakening within, a wild, untamed force stirring to life. It was overwhelming and intoxicating, a roar of power that threatened to drown out their own thoughts. They had to hold on, to control the beast, to channel that fury for the final charge. But the risk was clear: lose control, and the fury could consume everything, friend and foe alike. Around them, the team prepared for the inevitable breach. Weapons were loaded, positions taken, and hearts steeled for the coming storm. Some whispered prayers, others steeled themselves with grim determination. The fight was no longer just about survival, it was about legacy. About proving that humanity's fury was not forgotten, that it could still burn bright even in the face of annihilation. The alien forces launched their assault with brutal precision. The ground shook as their war machines crashed through barriers, tearing apart everything in their path. Human fighters met them head-on, but the odds were against them. The survivors watched, breath held, as their last line of defense began to falter. Inside the ship, the pilot struggled to keep pace with the rising power. The black ship responded to their emotions, anger, fear, hope, all mixed into a dangerous brew. It was a beast that demanded respect, one that tested the limits of human will. Every second was a battle within a battle. The final moments before the awakening stretched endlessly. The survivors outside fought with desperate courage, buying time, knowing that what happened next could change everything. The black ship's engines roared louder, energy cascading through the ship like lightning. The pilot's hands trembled on the controls, sweat dripping, mind racing to keep control of the fury building inside. Then, just as the alien forces broke through the last barricades, a pulse of energy erupted from the black ship. The earth trembled. Lights flared and a deep, thunderous roar echoed through the tunnels and the battle above. The forgotten beast was awake, but what came next, the surge of power, the blast of fury, the final charge against the alien invaders, remained shrouded in uncertainty. The survivors, the pilot, the world itself stood on the edge of a moment that would decide everything. The fury of the black ship was unleashed, but whether it would be humanity's salvation or its final reckoning was a question no one could yet answer. The war was reaching its climax, the tension unbearable. Every breath, every heartbeat was a countdown to the unknown. The final charge had begun, but the true battle, the one that would test the limits of human spirit and fury, was just about to unfold. The deafening roar of the black ship's awakening still echoed through the tunnels and across the shattered landscape when something unexpected happened. Something that no one, not even the pilot, could have anticipated. Just as the survivors braced for the surge of power to turn the tide of the alien invasion, the very ground beneath them trembled, not from their enemy, but from within the ship itself. A sudden, violent shudder rippled through the colossal machine, shaking the base to its core. Lights flickered erratically, alarms blared in wild urgency, and an unsettling silence followed. A silence heavier than any battle cry. The pilot's grip tightened on the controls, their heart pounding in their chest. The black ship wasn't responding like it had in the ancient records or in the legends whispered through generations. Instead of steady power and controlled fury, the ship seemed to fight back, as if wrestling with something buried deep inside, a force that wasn't meant to be unleashed so quickly or without consequence. Whispers spread through the survivors like wildfire. Some claimed to hear faint voices carried on the ship's vibrations, echoes of past pilots, warnings, or something else entirely. Others noticed strange fluctuations in the ship's energy, bursts of power that didn't seem to follow any logical pattern. The beast humanity had awakened was alive, but it was unpredictable and dangerous. The fury they had hoped to control was now a wild storm threatening to tear them all apart. As the alien forces pressed their attack on the surface, their ships momentarily hesitated, their sensors picking up the irregular energy surges. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the black ship's awakening had unsettled even the invaders. But then, something even more alarming occurred. From the heart of the ship, a shadowed figure emerged, something not human, not alien, but something that seemed to belong to both worlds and neither. No one had expected the black ship to contain a guardian, a hidden consciousness bound within its core. This entity moved with an eerie grace, its form shifting like smoke and shadow, its eyes glowing with a fierce intelligence. It was as if the ship itself had a soul, a will beyond that of any human or alien force. The pilot and the survivors watched in stunned silence as the figure raised its hand, sending a pulse of energy that momentarily halted the alien advance and stunned the human defenders. The revelation struck hard. The black ship was not just a weapon or a beast of fury. It was a living force with its own agenda. What that agenda was remained a mystery, but one thing was clear: the survivors were no longer in full control. The ancient power they had sought to awaken had awakened itself, and it was not bound by human commands. This new presence complicated everything. The pilot struggled to maintain control, trying to communicate with the entity inside the ship. At times, it felt like a silent dialogue, a test of wills between human determination and the ship's ancient consciousness. The survivors on the ground watched helplessly, realizing that the final charge might not be theirs to lead anymore. Meanwhile, the alien forces quickly adapted to the new development. Their commanders, observing the emergence of this unknown entity, shifted tactics. Instead of outright destruction, they began probing the black ship's defenses, seeking a way to exploit its apparent instability. It became clear that the invaders were not just fighting against humanity, but against this ancient guardian that had reawakened from a long slumber. As battles raged on multiple fronts, cracks appeared within the survivors' ranks. Some saw the guardian as a savior, a powerful ally that could finally end the alien threat. Others feared it as an uncontrollable force, one that might turn on them once their usefulness was spent. Old rivalries flared, alliances shifted, and the fragile unity that had held the survivors together began to unravel under the strain. The battle had reached its boiling point. The ground beneath the last human stronghold shook with the relentless pounding of alien war machines, while above, the sky was streaked with fiery trails of explosions and laser fire. The black ship, now fully awakened and alive with the ancient guardian's presence, pulsed with a power that was both terrifying and magnificent. The survivors held their breath, clutching whatever weapons they could, knowing this was the final stand, a moment that would decide the fate of humanity itself. Inside the command chamber, the pilot fought the overwhelming fury within the ship, trying to align their will with that of the guardian. The entity's glowing eyes met theirs in a silent conversation, no words spoken, but a flood of emotions and memories exchanged. It was a test of trust, a merging of human spirit and cosmic force. The pilot's hands moved with a new confidence, guided by something beyond themselves, as the black ship surged to life like a beast unleashed. Outside, the alien forces advanced relentlessly, their war machines tearing through barricades and soldiers alike. But as the black ship roared, its power rippling across the battlefield, the tide began to shift. Waves of energy blasted the alien ranks, dismantling their machines with an intensity no human weapon could match. The survivors rallied, finding new strength in the monstrous power that now fought alongside them. The Guardian's presence was undeniable. It wasn't a mindless weapon, but a force that seemed to understand the weight of this battle. The ship's fury was channeled with precision and purpose, striking not just with raw power, but with a calculated ferocity that stunned both humans and aliens. The alien commanders, caught off guard by this overwhelming force, scrambled to regroup, their confidence shaken for the first time in the war. As the battle escalated, the pilot experienced a flood of visions, flashes of ancient wars, cosmic battles fought across stars and galaxies, and the countless sacrifices made by those who had once wielded the black ship's power. They saw the faces of the forgotten warriors, the hopes and fears of generations past, and the terrible cost of this fury. It was a sobering reminder that this power demanded more than victory. It demanded sacrifice. The alien forces launched a desperate counterattack, swarming the black ship with fighter drones and assault troops. The survivors' defenses faltered under the pressure, and the battle seemed poised to tip once more. But the black ship responded with a surge of energy that split the sky and sent shockwaves through the ground. The Guardian's fury burned hotter than ever, a blazing storm that swept through the alien ranks, breaking their formations and scattering their forces. Yet, just as victory seemed within reach, a new threat emerged, one that no one had anticipated. From the depths of the ship, a hidden core began to pulse with a dark, foreboding energy. The Guardian's form twisted, its eyes glowing with a fierce intensity that shifted from protection to something far more dangerous. The ship itself seemed to rebel, the fury transforming into an uncontrollable force that threatened to consume everything around it. The pilot realized in horror that the black ship was not just a guardian. It was also a weapon of devastation designed to reset worlds, to cleanse them with fire when all else failed. The fury they had unleashed was a double-edged sword, one that could save humanity but also destroy it in the process. The ship's power was reaching a critical point, and if left unchecked, it would annihilate both alien and human alike. In that moment, the pilot made a choice. With every ounce of strength and will, they reached out to the Guardian, pleading for balance, for control. The ship trembled, the core pulsing faster, but the pilot's connection held firm. They merged their spirit with the ancient force, guiding the fury back from the brink of destruction. It was a battle of wills, a clash of ancient cosmic power and human determination. Outside, the survivors watched as the black ship's energy shifted from chaos to control. The war machines of the aliens faltered, their last assault collapsing under the combined power of the ship and humanity's resilience. The battlefield fell eerily silent for a heartbeat before a wave of energy swept through, dismantling the invaders' weapons and sending them retreating in disarray. The victory was hard-won and bittersweet. The black ship's fury had saved humanity, but the cost was clear. The pilot, exhausted and forever changed by the experience, stepped away from the controls, knowing that the bond they had forged with the Guardian had altered them forever. The ancient power was no longer just a weapon. It was a protector and a reminder of humanity's resilience and sacrifice. As the survivors emerged from the rubble, their eyes scanning the horizon for signs of returning peace, the pilot turned back to the black ship one last time. The Guardian's form shimmered briefly, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. The ship's engines quieted, its fury held in check, for now. But just as hope began to bloom, the unexpected twist unfolded. From the depths of the alien retreat, a new signal emerged, an encrypted transmission pulsing with a dark, unfamiliar energy. It was not a surrender or a plea for peace. Instead, it was a warning. A message from a force even greater and more mysterious than the invaders they had just defeated. The black ship's awakening had sent ripples across the cosmos, awakening ancient eyes that had long been watching, waiting. The pilot's eyes narrowed as the realization hit. The war was far from over. The fury they had unleashed was only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the stars, a new threat was stirring. One that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about the universe, the black ship, and the true nature of their forgotten beast. As the survivors regrouped and the alien remnants scattered, the pilots stood at the edge of a new horizon. The weight of their choices heavy, but their resolve unbroken. The final charge had been made, but the story was just beginning. And in the silence that followed, the black ship waited, its fury tamed for now, but its power still alive. Ready to face whatever came next, the dust settled slowly over the scarred landscape. The skies, once streaked with fire and smoke, began to clear as the last alien ships vanished into the void. Silence returned, not the peaceful kind, but the quiet that follows a storm, heavy with loss and reflection. The survivors moved cautiously among the ruins, their faces worn from battle but illuminated by a fragile light of hope. Humanity had survived the unimaginable, and yet the cost weighed on every heart. The black ship stood tall beneath the earth, a silent sentinel once again. Its fury had been unleashed, controlled, and ultimately tempered by the courage and sacrifice of those who dared to awaken it. The ancient guardian within had accepted a fragile truce with the pilot, binding human will and cosmic power together. They had become one force, a symbol of humanity's resilience, and a reminder that even forgotten beasts could rise from ashes to lead the final charge. The pilot emerged from the ship's depths, forever changed by the experience. Their eyes held the quiet strength of someone who had faced the unknown and survived, carrying the burden of knowledge few could understand. Though the war was won, they knew their journey was not yet over. The signal from the distant cosmos, ominous and unexplained, served as a constant reminder that the universe was vast, Mysterious and often unforgiving, the survivors began to rebuild, their efforts slow but determined. Communities that had been fractured by fear and war found new bonds in shared survival. Old rivalries were replaced by a collective purpose: to heal, to learn from the past, and to prepare for the uncertain future. The Black Ship became more than just a weapon. It was a beacon, a legacy of the fight against overwhelming odds and a promise that humanity's fury was never truly forgotten. In the quiet moments, survivors shared stories not just of battles and losses, but of hope and courage. The memory of the fallen was honored, their sacrifices woven into the fabric of a new beginning. The pilot, often standing watch over the ship, became a symbol of that hope. They were a bridge between the ancient power of the Black Ship and the humanity it protected. A reminder that strength came not just from machines or weapons, but from the spirit within each person. Questions that had haunted the survivors began to find answers. The Black Ship's guardian, once a mysterious force, revealed itself through visions and shared memories to those who sought understanding. It spoke of ancient wars beyond the stars, of cycles of destruction and renewal, and of humanity's unexpected role in a cosmic balance few had dared to imagine. The fury inside the ship was a force of nature, powerful, destructive, but also capable of great protection when wielded with respect and unity. The alien invasion, brutal and devastating as it was, had unveiled truths long buried. Humanity was not alone in the universe, nor was it the weakest link. The battle had awakened a dormant strength, both technological and spiritual, that connected generations and worlds. The Black Ship's fury was a symbol of that strength, a reminder that even forgotten beasts could rise to lead the final charge when the time was right. Yet, the lingering signal from the far reaches of space hinted at challenges ahead. The survivors understood that peace was fragile and that vigilance would be necessary. They looked to the stars with cautious eyes, ready to defend their home but also eager to explore the mysteries that awaited. The Black Ship, once a forgotten relic, was now a key to that future, its power a shield and a guide. As communities rebuilt and life slowly returned to the ruins, the pilot and the survivors held on to the lessons of the war. Unity in the face of darkness, the courage to awaken forgotten strength, and the wisdom to temper fury with control became the pillars of a new age. They knew the story of the Black Ship and its fury would be told for generations, a tale of humanity's forgotten beast rising from ashes to fight for survival. The final charge had changed everything. It was not just a battle won or lost, but a turning point in humanity's destiny. The Black Ship's fury was no longer a legend buried in time. It was a living force, a testament to what could be achieved when people refused to give up, even when facing the greatest odds. As the sun set over the healing earth, the pilot stood alone by the entrance to the Black Ship. The air was still, but the power within hummed softly, a quiet reminder of the storm it had once unleashed and the promise it held for the future. They looked up at the stars, knowing the fight was far from over, but also that humanity was ready. In that moment there was peace, not the end of all conflict, but the beginning of a new chapter. The fury of the Black Ship had been tamed, its legacy secured, and its warning clear. The universe was vast, filled with unknown challenges, but also endless possibilities. And so, humanity stepped forward, scarred but unbroken, cautious but hopeful, ready to face whatever came next. The forgotten beast had returned from ashes, not just to lead a final charge against aliens, but to remind all that true power lies in resilience, unity, and the unyielding spirit to survive. The story ends here, but the journey continues. The Black Ship's fury will echo through time, a symbol of humanity's past struggles and future strength. And somewhere out there, beyond the stars, the universe watches and waits,